The Chauvin trial continues, and Steven Crowder gets down on the ground to demonstrate what happened during the George Floyd arrest and whether or not somebody could survive it. So we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. Matt Gaetz's accusers come out and say that they are indeed trying to extort him, so we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. Let's see. United Airlines says that they're going to diversify the cockpit, so we'll talk a bit about what that means and what that could mean going forward. And we'll close out the show with a thing that I like and a thing that I hate. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. I experimented with some opening music here for the morning, but I'm not sure how I feel about it right now. So we'll see what's happening with that, and maybe we'll try something different coming up in the near future, or a different format for it, because it just doesn't sit with the flow of everything else that I'm doing up here. But it was worth the experiment to see. What do you guys think? Would you guys like to have a little bit of music here while I'm setting up monitors and everything? Let me know in the chat, which will be read on air tomorrow too, by the way. I want to make the best show possible for you guys. I really do. And I know that usually there's a little bit of a silence off at the beginning while I'm setting up monitors and getting everything else ready to go off of this, which I almost forgot to set Instagram back up too. So let's get that going. We'll do some on-air production that goes along with that. But yeah, we'll get the live going up here, and we'll talk about the news, and yeah, there's going to be that. So let's get into everything off of this. But while I'm setting the last part of this up here, make sure you guys head on over and check out and bookmark freedomscoop.com. We are going to be premiering the brand new website coming up on April 17th on the big live stream for suicide prevention. So hope to see you guys there. Definitely looking forward to that. So it's getting here. It's a week and a half away, at this point. And I got to still get some people scheduled in, see where they can fit throughout the day, and get ready to go. So it's getting to be crunch time here, but we're going to pull this off some way, somehow. We're going to figure out how this is going to go, so definitely looking forward to that. And while you're there, go on over there and check out my friends, The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Freckles and Brit Show. Once the new website up, we are going to have brand new ways for you guys to come over and support great creators and make sure that your favorite people are getting paid to do what they love to do here. So definitely looking forward to that, and looking forward to see you guys over there. All right, we got to get into the finance here now that I've got everything set back up. Let's see what we've got here. Looking at the Dow closed up just slightly, like 0.016% above where it closed the day before. And that was after coming back down and hanging out below the line for most of the day. It shot up, it dropped, it shot up, it dropped below the line, and then it came up above the line for just a half a second, intraday, and then right at the end. So that's what we see for that. We're going to see what the futures are doing. Bitcoin dropped a little bit. 56,637.30 is where Bitcoin is sitting at right now, which is slightly below the 56,937 we saw yesterday. So, now your Bitcoin's on the slide, but I would actually still grab a little bit if you could. But that is, of course, not official financial advice. Do what you feel is best for your portfolio and what your accountant thinks is best for your portfolio. On the gas is going, well, it's kind of holding steady still. We've still got those couple stragglers out there that are 258, 259 in Madison proper themselves, but for the most part, the Madison area remains at 253 gas. So we'll continue to watch that and see where that goes. Let's see what IBD has to say. No, I don't want to get started with IBD Digital. Why can't I close this ad? All right, let's see if they kick me out of IBD. That'll be embarrassing to come back right up on the top. All right, Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones today dips, NASDAQ futures hold gains as jobless claims rise. Apple climbs despite chip shortage news. From Alan R. Elliott. Stock futures turned mixed early Thursday following disappointing weekly jobless claims data, and after 2 sessions of quietly constructive trade, tech stocks held the early advantage, with Square and PayPal staking out early leads. Apple looked to extend its rally to a 6th day on Dow Jones today, despite reports of chip shortage problems. NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 0.8% as Applied Materials and PayPal Holdings led an early advance. S&P 500 futures swung 0.3% higher. Dow Jones futures turned a fraction lower on the stock market today after the Labor Department's weekly jobless claims report. Gains among small caps cooled slightly, with Russell 2000 futures up, pairing to a 0.8% advance. Aerospace leader Textron topped the S&P 500 up 2.5% after an upgrade to buy from Goldman Sachs. The stock ended Wednesday just below a 57.14 buy point in a 3 weeks tight pattern. Square was an early leader among IBD 50 and leaderboard stocks. The point-of-sale systems maker punched back above its 10-week moving average this week, rising 6.8% through Wednesday. The 6-day rally has placed it in a buy range for aggressive investors as it scales up the right side of a 7-week base pattern. And that is actually, to me, that is good news. That is really, really good news as far as what the economy is going to do, hopefully, because people are coming out and, we talked about the fact that there are going to be a lot of businesses that aren't going to come back. But with Square coming back up, that's usually, if you're starting out, especially in a small retail place like the campground I used to work at for the longest time, that's what they used for credit card processing, was just the Square reader on top of an iPad. So yeah, if you're just starting out right now, starting a new business, and you don't have the infrastructure or the ability to go out and grab a new credit card processor just yet, Square is an inexpensive way to go back and do that. And the fact that they're going up tells me that a lot of people are waiting out there and saying, okay, well, hey, maybe we can do this now. Now there are buildings out there that we can go and get and put businesses into. This is my dream. And the restaurant that I used to love to go to went out of business. So, hey, we'll start a restaurant here. I'm looking at that as a good thing. I really am. So, we'll see what happens with that. PayPal Holdings is also hitting a 6-day advance and testing resistance at the underside of its 50-day, 10-week line. Shares rose 1.6% in pre-market trade. If that move holds through the starting, PayPal stock would open above its 50-day line for the first time since March 3rd. PayPal is also on both the IBD 50 and leaderboard lists. Techs once again set up the early pace on the Dow Jones today. Leaderboard stock Microsoft led with a 1% advance. Intel, Salesforce, and Apple tacked close behind. Nikkei Asia reported Apple was experiencing production delays in its MacBooks and iPads due to an ongoing global chip shortage. The result is a pushback for orders for some of the devices into the second half of the year. The delays signal a possible worsening of the chip shortage, Nikkei reported, and could impact smaller tech players even more heavily. Apple traded 0.8% higher early Thursday after outpacing the market and breaking narrowly above its 50-day moving average in a 1.3% advance on Wednesday. Apple stock has climbed for 5 straight sessions, moving up 10% from a March 8th low. It is technically in a buy zone for aggressive investors, as the stock looks to advance further up the right side of a 3-month basing effort. All right, on the jobless claims, the number of first-time applications for unemployment assistance rose to 744,000 in the week ended April 3rd. The Labor Department reported this was above the prior week's 728,000 final tally, disappointing expectations for a second straight decline to 680,000 claims. So we're back up there. We're still losing almost 1 million jobs a week. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. Even as the new jobs start to roll in, we're still losing almost 1 million. So that does, I've got to wonder with that, and this is interesting, because we see some of the free states like Texas, Mississippi, Iowa, even Wisconsin at this point, who ditched their mask mandates and all of their other emergency mandates as either unconstitutional or for stretching for way too long off this. And that's where the jobs are starting to crop up. And we did just see the jobs report that added a massive amount of jobs, but we're still losing almost 1 million a week. And there are still places like New York that are massively locked down. So maybe we'll see some migration around the country. Just all I ask is that if you're going to flee California or New York, leave your voting with you. Just leave it there. Don't take it anywhere else. Markets will also be tuned to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's participation in an International Monetary Fund virtual debate on the global economy beginning at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Ooh, that would actually be interesting to watch. Wednesday's release of minutes from the Fed's March 17th meeting showed a steady-as-she-goes stance. The record indicated it would be some time before they begin removing aggressive monetary measures to support the economy. Translation, money printer go brrr. And will communicate well in advance of any eventual move, just the kind of predictability that investors look for. So, a couple things to watch. People are losing jobs, people are gaining jobs, maybe some migration coming up here, so we might see some house selling going on here. The economy is going to go where the economy is going to go, and I can't even tell you where it's going to go at this point. So we will continue to watch where the stocks go with that. Let's check out 5 things to know before the market opens on Wednesday from Matthew J. Belvedere over at CNN. 1. Dow set to drop at open after fall from previous record. U.S. stock futures were steady Wednesday, one day after Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 fell from record high closes as the recent rally driven by signs of strong economic rebound from the depths of the COVID pandemic took a pause. The Nasdaq also broke a multi-day win streak with a small loss through the tech-heavy index. Remained about 2.8% away from its February record close. Bond yields continued to drop from recent 14-month highs, easing fears of rising inflation. The 10-year Treasury yield early Wednesday was trading under 1.7%. The Federal Reserve is set to release minutes from its March monetary policy meeting at 2 p.m. 2. Jamie Dimon's annual letter offers upbeat view on the markets and economy. We actually talked about that yesterday, and he says, well, this could just keep going forward and keep throwing money into that market. Evil Orange Man is gone. So we don't have to go over that one. Morgan Stanley lost $5 billion in Archegos stock before massive fire sale. That's one of the things that we looked at last week, and Ron Helton actually brought up the article specifically about the Archegos, which was an interesting story. It's still in the articles worth investigating, and I would actually go back and possibly follow up on that again, because that was really interesting to see where a guy went out and he got busted for insider trading, so he went up and made his own firm and basically got busted for insider trading again. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it seems to be sending ripples through the system. The night before the Archegos Capital story burst into public view late last month, the fund's biggest prime broker quietly unloaded some of its risky positions. People with knowledge of the trades told CNBC Morgan Stanley sold about $5 billion in shares from Archegos' doomed bets in U.S. media and Chinese tech names to a small group of hedge funds in late on March 25th. According to the people who requested anonymity to speak frankly about the transaction, some of the clients felt betrayed by Morgan Stanley because they didn't receive that crucial context. So, interesting way to see where that's going to continue to ripple for months on end at this point. Bezos supports the corporate tax hike to help pay for infrastructure. Yeah, I didn't put that one in the news today because we've already got 29 in there, but that was another interesting one to see. Jeff Bezos voiced support for raising the U.S. corporate tax rate and helped pay for infrastructure spending, but the Amazon founder on Tuesday stopped short of saying he supports President Biden's plan for the increase. Bezos' support for the tax hike on companies is notable given that Amazon has faced scrutiny over its own tax record, including from Biden. Last May, while still a Democratic presidential candidate, Biden told CNBC that Amazon should start paying their taxes. Amazon pays plenty of fucking taxes, you senile old fucking goot. But, of course, Bezos is going to support the corporate tax rate increase. You know why? Because it gets some of his small competitors back up out of the way. Bezos has more money than God, and if he gets slapped with more taxes, he has more money than he's ever going to be able to spend in his entire life, tied up in assets and into his company. Now, he only takes a $60,000 a year paycheck from Amazon, which is why his taxes are so low. Everything else is tied up into either houses, buildings, his company, other assets, other personal assets. But no, he has very, very little income, which is how he's getting around the taxes. But all he has to do is go off and sell a building somewhere, and he'll cover the taxes. Meanwhile, that's going to put several of his lower competitors back out of business. So that's Bezos for you right there. All right, and the last one here. Biden moves up deadline for states to open COVID shots to all U.S. adults. Biden is urging states to open COVID vaccine appointments to all U.S. adults by April 19th, moving up his original deadline by nearly 2 weeks. Biden urged Americans to continue to practice pandemic safety measures, saying the U.S. isn't at the finish line yet. The president also said the U.S. has reached 150 million shots administered in his first 75 days in office. He's pushing to have 200 million doses in arms within his first 100 days in office. Which means that, Ron, you better